Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. In a little over 48 hours from now, President Donald Trump takes over as the 47th President of the United States. But he's already begun setting the global agenda even before assuming office. This is unprecedented for an incoming US President. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has just announced a ceasefire in West Asia with Hamas, and that Israel will exchange hostages and prisoners. It's exactly what President Trump wanted. Trump is also gunning for Iran next, and this explains why Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian is in Moscow today, and he's just signed a security deal with President Putin. Now, the prospects of a India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor have begun to brighten with chances of peace in West Asia. But we're also going to look at how Trump's plan for West Asia impacts us. How will the Trump effect upend things in the region? Joining me is Itai Melchior, General Sudhakar Jee, and Colonel Agarwal. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Itai, the Iranian president is in Moscow. He's just signed a very comprehensive strategic partnership with the Russian Federation. Just 48 hours to go before President Trump takes oath. Explain to us why Iran did what it did and how literally they are in a corner today in West Asia.
Hello, Sandeep. Happy to be here again. It's difficult to go into someone's head, and I do assume that the president knows that the Trump administration is starting next week, and that just makes your question even stronger and better. I think that what we are seeing now is part of a new formation of two axes facing each other. Each side has spent the last half year or so trying to build up stronger partnership and allies. You will see that while on the side of Russia, Iran, China, North Korea, there have been new kinds of mergers and acquisitions. Let's call it, if we borrow from the business world, we see North Korean soldiers fighting alongside Russia. We see Iran supplying Russia. We see China and Russia, China and Iran growing ties in this axis, all of them vying for influence in Africa. By the way, the Minister of Foreign Affairs was in Africa just recently, bolstering ties. And on the other side, we saw the US taking some steps which surprised a few. Even the Democratic administration started courting Saudi Arabia, which it was posed against before. And all of this is trying to realign the world into two different axes. And it's also good news, I think, for India,
Yes.
because India becomes a much more strategic point for many of the players. And I've had some discussions about this with senior officials in the incoming administration.
Trump has literally begun setting the agenda for his term as president even before assuming office. He said he's going to end all the wars. He's managed to get a ceasefire with between Hamas and Israel, and there's also talk of a peace deal possibly between Ukraine and Russia. But tell us this Trump effect, how we should be looking at it from the point of view of now's not the time for war, as Prime Minister Modi says. Trump the peacemaker, Trump the deal maker, but most importantly Trump in West Asia.
Sandeep, good afternoon. Thank you for getting me to your show, and I take the opportunity of wishing one and all your viewers a very happy New Year 2025. As regards the question, my take on the whole issue is that the Trump that we saw 4 years back during his previous tenure is different from the Trump that we are seeing now. The man may be a businessman, but he has gone through a process of transition which time has brought about. Time is the best healer and time is the best transformer. Right. And since he has come back to power with a resounding mandate, he owes it to the people of America and
Yes.
the world out. And my take on the whole issue is that he's more responsive, more focused, more accountable to himself than to others. In my reckoning and assessment, he is going to go all out to bring about change and fulfill his primary agenda of MAGA, M-A-G-A, Make America Great Again. While doing so, he's not going to discount or close his options to bring about some semblance of rules-based international order, thereby going to ensure the ceasefire in the Central Europe as also
Yes.
Middle East.
Absolutely.
And
New agenda for
final
Trump.
take,
Yes.
my final take is that here is a man who was speculative as also skeptical. He was unpredictable in his previous tenure.
Yes.
One didn't know which side and what decision he would be taking. He has undone all the agreements of common challenges in the global order. And he actually undid the supremacy of the USA. He had his justification. He
Right.
pulled back. Rather, he handed over the baton to Biden. And during Biden's time, the semblance of disorderliness and the weaknesses of a superpower came into limelight in Afghanistan per se. And thereby it has actually made people in America to think within, introspect, and
Yes.
carry out some kind of a reformation within the society in the
Absolutely.
homeland security.
Yes, yes. Thanks, General Sudhakar. I want to come to you, Colonel Agrawal. You're a West Asia expert. You've just written an editorial on the peace process in Israel that's taking place with Hamas. Explain for us how this peace process actually came about and the kind of role that Trump has played in getting this through. You've been talking of, a ceasefire for several months now. There have been ceasefires, they're not held. Israel has gone back to war fighting. What is it about Trump that actually made him force this peace deal through? Literally, they're saying that they even possibly arm twisted Benjamin Netanyahu into agreeing to this peace deal.
Yeah, so thank you, Sandeep, for having me on the show. And the world over, this is the buzzword that Trump arm twisted Netanyahu in getting this deal done. And to certain extent, it's a fact because Netanyahu was in no mood to have a ceasefire in Gaza
Yes.
till that time. His so-called military objectives were, completely achieved, and which meant, total elimination of Hamas from the Gaza, and nothing should be left of it, which was
Yes.
even his military commanders had said that it is an unachievable task. So what changed? Yes, Trump is the main factor. Steve Witkoff went to speak to Netanyahu on 10th January and gave him a very stern message. 3 days before that, Trump had given statement in a press conference that all hell will break loose if there's no ceasefire in Gaza by the time he comes to the office. But to me, it is not just the arm twisting of the Israeli prime minister that could have done it. It is the difference in the picture that Trump is seeing and what Netanyahu is seeing. And I take it from what General Sudhakar was saying that Trump in his second term is going to have a much better, broader perspective and a more focused approach. So just let me explain this. Netanyahu was seeing only what he wants to see around his border, that is Gaza, Hezbollah in South Lebanon,
Yes.
Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the West Bank, and all. When everything is done, Netanyahu felt that he would be clear. But I think the message that Trump delivered was that Gaza, whatever you had to do is more or less achieved, and let us get done with it. It will give his presidency a positive start, which he wanted. And to Netanyahu, he gave the bigger picture that Gaza is not your ultimate war. Your ultimate war is what is irritating the entire West Asia, which is the Iran and its proxies.
Yes.
So till the time you get over with the Gaza war, nothing can move ahead. You can't move ahead on doing anything with Iran. You cannot get the Saudis to normalize relations with Israel till the time
Yes.
the Gaza issue is sorted out. And that has been on the table for a long time. In fact, I wrote about it that one of the instant triggers for the Gaza conflict was the almost done deal between Saudi Arabia
Yes.
and Israel. I think on 23rd September it was announced by Blinken.
Absolutely.
And on 7th October it broke out. So Trump is looking at the bigger picture, and I
Yes.
think Netanyahu got that, and that is how this deal has come
Trump-
about, which
yes.
is actually a mirror image of what was happening since May. So like you said, 8
Right.
months it has been going up and down, and now it has finally
Yes.
happened.
Right, absolutely. And so Trump actually pushing his agenda through getting Netanyahu to focus on the peace deal with Saudi Arabia, which is actually the big picture here in this equation. But, General Sudhakar, the Iranian president is in Moscow even as we speak. He's just concluded a very important strategic partnership with the Russian Federation, with President Putin. Explain to us why Iran would really be feeling the heat now. You know, Trump has made it very clear that Iran was going to be on his agenda. He in fact said in November that if Iran abandons its nuclear weapons, he says that I'd like them to become a very successful country. He said that, and he, you know, is this a possible hint of another, JCPOA 2.0? That's a Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action which Trump initiated, scrapped rather. Is he coming up with a new plan for Iran, and that possibly is the reason that the Iranian president is in Moscow even as we speak?
Sandeep, bang on. You have actually preempted me in your question itself. You see, Donald Trump is a person who initiated the process of Abraham Accord during his tenure. He was, if not midway through, he was very progressively, he was actually advancing by leaps and bounds. And he was very close to making a remarkable golden milestone, historic milestone in the global order. But short of that, you know what happened on 7th October 2023. Nobody knew. It was a very unpredictable turn of event. I would say this is a significant turning point of 21st century. Be that as it may, when you talk about coming to the central point of your question, Iran and Russia going in for a strategic partnership, an agreement of this kind at this point in time, it indicates a couple of issues. First and foremost, it depicts that Iran is an isolated country in the world, not only in West Asia. Number two, it has to survive, sustain itself. It is accountable to its people. Number three, the biggest enemy of Iran is Israel. Proxies having been decimated, the backbone has been having been destroyed, if not all, barring Houthis. I think rest all have been taken into account and been sorted out by the Israeli counter-offensive. Iran would like to enhance gradually, incrementally its staying power of relevance in the global order, particularly Middle East. In order to do that, it's long-lasting, a kind of an evergreen partnership which was existing earlier with Russia is being renewed. Take your mind back to what happened in 2011. Same Assad was run away to, fled to Russia. He was, with the help of Russia and Iran, they managed to retain him in power, and that's continued for 10, 11 years. Now it's a different narrative in Syria. You see, save one's staying power of relevance and also to cover one's backside, one has to actually guard all the frontiers as much as possible. Today, which are the options? The options are China and Russia. And Russia, going by the military might, proven time-tested military might, which is actually being tested on the ground in Ukraine and elsewhere in the world. Perhaps it is gone into Russia to make a formidable deal that in times of criticality, when push comes to shove, if things go out of hand, then it is Russia which is going to come back to power. Last but not the least, the JCPOA that you spoke of, yes, he has scuttled out for sure in 2018. There was justification and reason behind abruptness and I would say certain decisions, U-turn taken by Trump. And his basic aim is that Iran should at no point in time go nuclear. And if that is achievable with the renewed or JCPOA 2.0, perhaps it's going to be a win-win situation both for Trump, for the Iran itself, as also for the entire global order. Back to you, Sandeep.
Thanks, General Sudhakar. A very comprehensive overview of Iran's crisis right now. Iran's in a very lonely place, after its proxies have been decimated, Colonel Agarwal. Just a year ago, Iran seemingly held all the cards in West Asia with all its proxies. It was fighting that war very successfully. But I think the Iranians didn't wargame the possibility of a long war of attrition in which their proxies were slowly taken out. First it was Hamas, then it was Hezbollah. The Houthis have also felt the heat, but now Iran seems to be in a corner, and which is possibly why they went to Russia. But give us the overview, Colonel Agarwal, on this comprehensive strategic partnership that they have done with Russia. How critical is this to ensure the survival of the Iranian regime, which seems to be uppermost on President Pezeshkian's mind when he visited the Russian Federation?
So Sandeep, we have to look at Iran from multiple angles, and there's no doubt that it is in a very bad spot. and I wrote about it about a week back, that it requires to do a overall strategic rebalancing.
Yes.
So let us take it in three parts. One is the region itself. Then we also have to look inside Iran how it is, and then the global picture how Iran is emerging. Within the region, all its proxies have been decimated. The two biggest, setbacks that it suffered. First was the elimination of the entire top leadership of Hezbollah, including Nasrallah's assassination on 27th September. And then it led to its ground offensive on 1st October, which was almost stalemated. But anyway, Israel got a very big upper hand. But the biggest upset that Iran has suffered is
Yes.
the ouster of Assad regime in Syria.
Yes.
So while it could have accepted, decimation or deterioration in military capabilities of Hamas and Hezbollah, there was always a scope of recouping their capabilities, because you had a physical conduit in form of Syria to reach out to all, both these parties.
Yes.
With Syria now cut off, Iran is facing a very difficult situation.
Itai, the peace deal, the ceasefire that's been reached at in Israel, and how did Prime Minister Netanyahu agree to this deal? There's a lot of dissent in his cabinet. There are cabinet colleagues of his who did not want this to go through, but he finally pushed it through, it seems, with some persuasion from the United States. Explain to us what's going on in Israel right now with this ceasefire with Hamas.
So first, it's important to understand there's a misconception going around that Netanyahu was the part that was against the deal, or that it is because of political pressure or because of him wanting to stay in power. We see again and again the US claiming that the side that was against the deal was Hamas. Hamas has consistently refused the deal, including very similar one to one that's happening now. So the change wasn't really in the Israeli side. Also remember that the previous deal we had, it had opposition in cabinet. It's true, nobody left the cabinet because of that or resigned, but they voted against. This time, we may see one of the two fractions which are against the Ben Gvir Minister of Interior Security that has threatened to leave the cabinet. That does not mean the government will fall and we will go into elections. That will only happen if both of the parties will leave. Also, Minister of Finance Smotrich party. Ben Gvir has been putting a lot of pressure on Smotrich to join him in leaving and toppling the government and the coalition. I don't think this is what will happen. So I think that Netanyahu is safe. His government and coalition will stay strong even after this deal. I don't think we will see the opposition becoming any more merciful. They've promised to vote for when it comes, even though it won't come to parliament. It's only voted in the ministerial cabinet for security. And in the government itself. So therefore, they promise they will vote for, but it has no meaning whatsoever. I think that despite these shocks, we will see the government staying on, and therefore that just proves that the reason it did not happen until now was not the threats of the right-wing parties, but the Hamas opposition.
Hamas opposition to the ceasefire deal, indeed. But General Sudhakar, you mentioned the fact that how Saudi Arabia and Israel were so close to a peace deal, the final pieces of the jigsaw puzzle of the Abraham Accords, and then October 7th happened in 2023. Now with this new peace deal, this ceasefire, do you believe that Saudi Arabia and Israel will shake hands, and of course the India-Middle East economic corridor will take off, as President Biden indicated just yesterday?
Sandeep, very simple question, but very complex answer at the moment.
Nothing in West Asia is simple, General Sudhakar. It's layer upon layer, very complex, yes.
You see, while you and me are discussing in this beautiful panel discussion, you know what is happening in West Bank. Things are actually going out of hand.
Right.
One doesn't know. I only pray to God that the second Infida or Palestine attack or the Hamas attack doesn't take place in West Bank. Things are really, really very, very serious. I'm sure Colonel Agarwal and our colleague from Israel will be able to throw some light. So having said that, being a soldier, we are, what is life? Life is all about hope. Let's be optimistic. And with that optimism, I personally feel that the Abraham Accord is heading for definitely a very, very positive turnaround. And it's going to progress in a very positive and productive manner. And with that, the entire dynamics and the geopolitics in West Asia is
Yes.
going to undergo a
Absolutely.
change for better,
Yes.
change for stability.
Change for the better, change for stability. Colonel Agrawal, the IMEC, prospects of the IMEC have improved with this ceasefire. And of course, there is another corridor that we talk about here in Delhi. It's the North-South corridor. And I've just, referring to what Itai mentioned, the fact that the world is now in two power blocks. You have Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea on one hand, and of course the United States and the West on the other. And both have their own corridors. Which one is New Delhi going to take? Is it going to be IMEC or is it going to be the North-South corridor?
So, Sandeep, I mean, Delhi is playing good on both the hands. We are already part of the international North-South corridor. And when Chabahar port deal was done in May 2024, about
Yes.
7-8 months back, this was one of the positives of the Chabahar port deal getting done, that the international North-South corridor was now operational.
Yes.
And Chabahar port will become a very major hub, not only for getting to the warm water ports into the Gulf of Arabian Gulf and onwards to the Arabian Sea, but also a shunt would go northwards towards Afghanistan and Central Asian Republic to give another access to this North-South
Yes.
corridor. As regard IMEC, what many people don't understand, that IMEC has not been very, very adversely affected by the war in Gaza. Yes, the major infrastructural work that was supposed to happen in Israel and towards the border with Israel and the ports of Eilat and Haifa, they have been adversely affected. But a lot of groundwork has been going on in UAE and Saudi Arabia as far as this improvement of infrastructure is concerned, or connecting the dots between the existing road and rail infrastructure is concerned. So now with the Gaza ceasefire happening, and hopefully if it stays and converts into something more peaceful at the end of it, the three phases, then IMEC will definitely get a boost. And IMEC takes you across east and west to Europe, whereas the North-South corridor gets you north down to south through the corridor. Both connect to Europe in some way or the other.
Yes, absolutely. Win-win for India on both those corridors, Colonel Agrawal. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We've just been talking about Trump's West Asia gambit, which possibly unfolds a little over 48 hours from now. What does it mean for India and the rest of the world? We'll keep watching. But thank you very much, gentlemen, Itai, General Sudhakar, and of course, Colonel Agrawal for joining us. Kangana Ranaut's film Emergency is being released nationwide today, but not in Punjab, it seems. Theatres aren't screening the film because leaders of Sikh organizations, including the SGPC, have asked for a ban on the film. They claim it tarnishes the images of Sikhs and distorts history. Does this have to do with the depiction of the controversial Jarnail Singh Bhindrawale? Joining me to discuss this are Girish Wankade and Ramneek Maan. Welcome to the News9 Plus show. Girish, why is Emergency not being screened in Punjab? What are the theatre owners telling you?
Now, before theatre owners, there was a certain directive from SGPC,
Yes.
where they said that the facts are being distorted, and they were not comfortable with Kangana's film. Before that also, Kangana has spoken something against the Sikh community, so there was already a negativity around the film in the entire premises, entire area. So Punjab was not a great idea for releasing this film overall pan-India anyways. But
Right.
when the protest intensified in last 2 or 3 days, the initial shows, first or two shows, were purely cancelled in entire Punjab.
Right.
We have news from Jalandhar to Amritsar to Barnala to Mansa to Moga to Patiala. I have a cinema operation which is yet to operate in Jalandhar. We have 2 screens which has yet to get the cinema license. It is in PPR Mall. But we also got the intimation that we don't have to run the cinema, run the film.
Right.
So this particular stir, which has been a protest, which has been taking place in Punjab, we all exhibitors are already terrified by this. We don't
Yes.
want to harm our location existing because we have classes and security, and there are a lot of things which we have to take care, because
Yes.
the entire if somebody throws a stone, then it is a big loss for our cinema. So it's better to play safe
Yes.
than to get rectified.
Then be sorry. But, once again, Girish, tell us if there's anything objectionable in the movie that you think. One gets the impression that the movie has already passed the CBFC and all those scenes were removed. So why the fuss right now?
There are always the protest wings which don't watch the film. 80% of the stirs in our country, 80% of the protest in our country takes place without watching the film. They only hear that there is something in the film and they start protesting. Who has watched the film? Only press has watched the film because there was a press show. The regular release is happening in the morning today.
Yes.
But as you learn that there is something derogatory in the film, you
Yes.
just make the assumption and start your protest. That is a very old practice in
It's
our
an
country.
old practice
And
indeed, yes. And in the case of Emergency, it has to do with the depiction of Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale in this film. Ramneek, why do you believe Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale is such a sensitive topic in Punjab? Can we, for instance, ever make a movie on Operation Blue Star, the reality of what actually unfolded in 1984?
Well, Sandeep, it's a controversial topic. There is no doubt about it. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen the film, so I won't be able to comment on the particular incidents that they are referring to. But then again, what I have gathered from media is that there was certain cuts in the movie, and after the cuts, the movie was permitted to release. There's a statement which had come from Kangana. There was a statement which had come from the CBFC chairman,
Yes.
Prasoon. So all of this, whatever I've collected and gathered, there were incidents like the Dilama, bus massacre where 20 Hindus were assassinated.
Yes.
That has been removed. You were not permitted to take the name Bhindranwale in that movie. So my belief is that over the years, the SGPC has portrayed an image of certain people who were terrorists as martyrs, as shaheed,
Right.
as babas and sons,
Yes.
This is what they have done for the years, and they're not helping anyone's cause. They're, to say the least, the Sikhs' cause.
Yes.
But then again, it is the SGPC and not the government of Punjab which has banned the movie, and this is pure arm twisting. Yeah, but if you don't want the movie, you don't want to watch the movie, don't watch the movie. Don't spend your
Right.
money. Don't go to theaters. Just avoid the movie. But
Yes.
nobody's forcing you to go and watch the movie. But then, by doing this, you are portraying a bad image of Punjab.
Yes.
You're portraying an image of Punjab being aggressive, portraying an image of Punjab being intolerant, and in Sikhi, the expression, the communication has very, very high stature, because Guru Nanak Sahib himself had mentioned,
Yes.
"Jab tak rahiye, kuch suniye, kuch kahiye." So there has to be a discussion. Well, let the people decide for themselves whether what has been portrayed is right or wrong. Well, again, like the gentleman before me spoke, that Kangana has been a controversial image in Punjab, especially after her, her statements, which have been again very controversial in Punjab.
Yes.
But again, having said that, glorifying a CRPF or a CISF constable slapping a sitting MP, and then what are you trying to prove, and what are you trying to set a image of Sikhs as? If tomorrow Sikh boys in turban are not deployed inside airports,
Yes.
well, then you will again cry foul.
Yes.
But the history, you have to come out clear and tell that this is the misinterpretation of history. This is where there is a wrong portrayal. The fact is that the incidents which took place, I mean, the movie's Emergency, I believe it happened on 25th of June 1975, and the
Yes.
incidents that we're talking about are of June 1984 and onwards. In October 1984, Indira Gandhi was assassinated.
Yes.
So it is a period of, let's say, about 11 years in a 3 months period, which is being covered. So which parts of it is being objectionable, that has to come out clear. And again, SGPC has to come out clear. It's been 12 years, Sandeep. Can you imagine?
Yes.
There has been no SGPC elections. So
Yes.
these people who are office bearer of SGPC were elected 12 years back. I mean, what sort of democracy they have inside? And again, one more important point which really, really haunts me today, that there is a massive change of demography in Punjab, the kind of conversions that are taking place,
Yes.
the drug menace in Punjab,
Of course.
The joblessness in Punjab, the deindustrialization of Punjab, the massive immigration out of Punjab. I mean, they have not spoken on any of these.
Any of these, exactly. And the real issues are never highlighted, Ramneek, as you, know. Yes.
The real mandate of SGPC, Sandeep, is Dharam Prachar.
Yes.
And Dharam Prachar is nowhere to be seen. This is the sort of Prachar they do.
Yes.
And this is not Dharam Prachar, I can assure you of.
This is not
As a
Dharam
matter of
Prachar.
fact, they are the same people who had banned or got the movie Nanak Shah Fakir banned.
Yes.
Which was a movie based on Guru Nanak Sahib.
Yes.
So you can imagine.
Absolutely. The SGPC spending all its time in banning movies while Punjab wrestles with a host of other real issues like unemployment and the drug menace and, of course, conversions. But, you know, Girish, there's been this trend of political cinema in Bollywood of late. There have been a lot of movies made on politicians and eras of history of not so long ago, I mean, of controversial figures even. Tell us how wary the industry would be about making movies about subjects that would show one political party or one politician in a poor light. How wary is the industry about touching political issues?
Now see, unfortunately, we have this industry divided into two parts. When we had good old days,
Yes.
there were neutral films where we were talking about patriotic films and
Yes.
all. But suddenly in last 10 to 15 years, unfortunately, we are also making agenda film.
Right.
There are certain filmmakers who want to amplify the philosophy of certain parties. That's
Yes.
why you get to see the films like Adi Purush, or you see a film like Putra Chawan, or you want to see Kashmir Files. So there
Yes.
are so many agenda films which are being made in the light of certain philosophy. And then there are certain films which are independent films. But these independent films which talk about the issues are less, unfortunately. And the agenda films are more.
Right.
Where we are talking about there are huge stars also. So there are 60% of the stars who are aligned along with the filmmakers to make agenda films.
Right.
And the audience who go to the cinema, they smell it. They understand which is the agenda film. If we have a film like, say, Main Atal Hoon, it is glorifying a certain party, certain person. Also, if it is Narendra Modi, that is which Vivek Oberoi featured in that film.
Yes.
So there are many films like this which are suddenly got the numbers increasing. Every 2 months there is one announcement where you get to see the film aligned to a certain party's ideology.
Yes.
So this is what we have been divided into, and that is one of the unfortunate scene.
Yes.
We have the ability to express ourselves, but then stretching it too much, getting it too way down for your own convenience or with your own party politics is something
Absolutely.
which we are also
Division in the film
looking at.
industry indeed. Thank you very much, Girish and Ramneek. We're talking about the ban, or rather the unofficial ban on Kangana Ranaut's movie Emergency in Punjab.